it's a mixed picture across the Asia Pacific because most of the Asian markets are trading fairly higher.
The BJP has not been able to secure a majority on its own. It has won 240 seats.
But their base case is that it will be a coalition government led by Mr. Modi.
I think what we need to just focus on is whether there will be continued fiscal discipline, and I think there will be. That is my expectation.
190 kicking off the day, above 22,000. That's good news.
The bull market we've seen in the last few months has meant there has been very extreme valuation.
He's also at heart is a very pragmatic politician. Yeah. What is more important for him is to run a government and last a full 5-year term.
But today things are changing, but right now there is some solid grain.
Indeed, a very I think spectacular victory for NDA in the state of Andhra Pradesh.
We are not the party for begging for the power. Okay. We are the party which formed for the socio-economic development.
Every other Indian, I also hope for a change in the center.
Yesterday, the mid-cap and the small-cap indices lost over 7 and 8%. So while this is an excellent bounce back, we've still not come back to the levels that we were yesterday.
Sharpest strategies, top market trends, unmatched perspectives, the trading day's most comprehensive roundup. Stay ahead with NSE Closing Bell, broadcasting live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios in Mumbai.
Well, that's the day so far, and markets are bouncing back and nicely. I mean, this is a much better market to report on as compared to yesterday when, of course, it was complete bloodbath. So, there's a broad pullback, and I think that is what is heartening to see. It's not just led by, a lone sector or two sectors. It's pretty much, even the PSUs are higher. They're underperforming, but they are higher, and I think that tells you the story. So lots to talk about here over the next 60 minutes. It's been a very eventful week this so far. Monday, that big surge. Yesterday, the big sell-off. And today, some clawing back is what is happening. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleagues Reema, Surabhi here in the studios, and Nigel is joining us from the newsroom floor. Guys, hi, good afternoon.
Hi, afternoon. And if you do the math, on Tuesday, we lost nearly 1,400 points on the Nifty. Today, we've regained 650 points on the Nifty right now. And on Monday, we had added on close to about 750 points. Net, we've neutralized, over Monday and today, we've neutralized all of yesterday's loss. And as you can see on your screen, week to date, now we're positive. So that says it all. Right?
And I think some political statements that have come through in the course of the last couple of hours, they explain the 600-point move because we've heard from the two critical allies. And both have said, of course, the TDP spokesperson in conversation with Shireen herself, stating that, they will stick with the NDA. There's no question for going back to the India alliance. So I think a lot of that chatter, that talk has put to rest the kind of confusion that we were dealing with yesterday. And the net result is the day's high on the index. In terms of what's different is, of course, the constituents of the rally, right? And we'll talk about that as we go forward.
No, I mean, there is a lot of sector rotation, and I think that is absolutely clear. By the way, up to that point, Reema, I just checked week to week, Friday's close to now. Yeah. We're down 8 points.
Exactly. We've neutralized everything now.
So it's quite incredible, right? I mean, you'd imagine that, but for the week, I mean, if you held, say, Nifty, and where you are now, you look at where you are now, you're basically down 8 points. Nothing.
It's like nothing ever happened.
And yet so much happened.
We lived through it, right? So and I think...
So I have to tell the tale.
It happened. Well, broad recovery, as I said, unfolding on Dalal Street. And I think that's very, very clear. Now, I mean, actually, when I came in, I was saying that we've recovered over 1/3 of what the market has lost. But we are, I think, now approaching that 700-point rally. The market basically lost 1,400 points, which basically would mean that almost 50% of the loss from yesterday, near about, once you get to that 700-point mark, gain on the Nifty, about half of those losses from yesterday are being recovered. Sector rotation is very high, and, that's showing through. So, as I said, CPSE as an index is up about 1.5%. But that is, of course, gaining the least. It's metals, it's private banks, it's autos, it's FMCG, it's pharma. These are some of the top gainers that we have going at this point in time. I mean, we'll talk more about levels, etc. But for now, I think we just sort of enjoy the stability and, as we say, return of the green on the screen. Will there be more volatility, more choppiness? It's possible. But I think, in a way, if you're looking for the sort of worst outcome, that perhaps is now behind us, that shock and surprise that we had I mean, that was all sort of taken in yesterday. And today, with, of course, a lot of the headlines coming in and the assurance that there is going to be continuity, I mean, the market is kind of lapping it up. So 22,550 with almost 50% of yesterday's losses recouped. Rima.
Well, just to put numbers to it, on Friday, the Nifty closed at 22,530. So currently now we're 10 points above that level. 22,530 was the Friday close. As the graph will tell you, on Monday, 733 points up. Yesterday, down nearly 1380. And today, that 600-point Nifty gain has now advanced to about a 650-point rally. So net, we're absolutely flat. On the mid-cap index, though, there is still some sell-off if you give and take all the moves over the last 3 days. Yesterday, we lost 4,200 points. Today, we've gained back 2,000. And on Monday, we had added close to about 1,650. But the mid-cap index is still below Friday's closing level of 51,700, thereabout. But you know, it's not just the FMCG sector. Today, even the Adani Group stocks have bounced back. So while FMCG takes, the top, is right on top of the leaders board, if you look at the Adani Group stocks, Adani Green, Adani Ports, ACC, Adani Enterprises, and even some of the PSU stocks, so Mazgaon, Concor, a lot of the energy stocks, which were pummeled, maybe it's because of lower crude prices, but ONGC has also rebounded quite smartly in the large cap.
No, absolutely. I was looking at a lot of these PSUs beyond the Nifty, Rima. And the charts tell a story. Pull up the intraday on let's say a BHEL, pull up an intraday on a PFC, some of these names. They opened with deep gashes because there was continuation of the selling that started yesterday. But the recovery has been equally stunning, and this will remain a big point of debate. I mean, look at the way the stock started, the fall around 10 o'clock, and now. This will remain a point of debate in terms of how many funds start rotating away from these stocks into defensives, and how many buyers decide to buy the dip on the ones where they feel that there is good value and good earnings potential in terms of the PSU space. So that remains a more complex side of the market for sure. But talking about some of the other movers and shakers, clearly it's been a complete out-and-out FMCG day. So a lot of stocks. Look at Imami; it's still holding on to gains of about 10% right now. AB Fashion and Retail looking very smart, 14% up. So very interesting names. Vodafone Idea is up about 12%. There's a Jyoti Laboratories, 13%. Bector's, Mrs. Bector's Food, up about 11%. So, a large part of it is consumer and FMCG, but then there are certain other names as well. There's a, Chambal Fertilizers. We're talking about monsoons moving further up the coast. So, largely speaking, it's looking good. 4% gallop on the mid-cap index and a 3% move on the Nifty, and actually in a 4.5% move on the Bank Nifty. That's the real star. Nigel.
Well, that's right. Surabhi, how's the Josh?
I would say, looking at this market, the market will say, pretty okay, sir.
How's the Josh, right?
Yes. I think Rima's got plenty of it right now. But yeah, good to see. It's a good looking screen pulling back, to those Friday levels. So effectively, we are back at Friday levels, both on the Nifty as well as on the Nifty Bank as well. The Nifty Bank just, I think, 20-30 points away from those levels. Ashish Kayal joins us. Hi, Ashish. Good afternoon and good to see you, Ben. And from a bullish perspective, markets are looking beautiful. After yesterday's slam dunk that we saw, both the Nifty Bank, we're seeing good amount of participation, advanced decline ratio as well in favor of the number of stocks advancing. How would you trade this market? Levels on the Nifty first up.
Afternoon to you and all the viewers. Yes, of course, it's a relief sign seeing the yesterday's chaos that we saw on the market and Nifty sharply crashed downside. But the good part is we have recovered back on the weekly basis. We have actually recovered back the entire losses, and on the daily basis, we have recovered back nearly 50% of that. So possibly I'm looking for any kind of a dip from here. If you can get around 22,450, use that as a buying opportunity on Nifty. We can again aim for moving towards the gap area, which is around 22,800 levels. We can try and fill that gap which was created on Monday post the exit polls. We might try to fill that up again on the upside. So 22,800 is what we can aim for over short term, but it might take some time. There can be some kind of a consolidation. We are also going to see some kind of 22,500 call and put side. How are they placed right now? They are equally placed, I suppose. And as we move upside, 22,500 put writer should start selling it around those levels, which might give more conviction on the rally. So overall, in a tone, use the dip to buy as a buying opportunity. We can aim for 22,800 on Nifty.
And Ashish, afternoon, what would your stock calls be for this afternoon?
The first stock pick is going to be Trent. We can clearly see a very strong breakout in today's session. It has recovered back all of its losses yesterday's and also giving a breakout today with good volume. So that's a very positive sign, relative outperformance. So one can create long position in Trent, keeping a stop loss of 4725, and we can expect a level of around 5,350 on the upside. And the next stock pick is going to be Colgate. We can clearly see outperformance in the FMCG space. There is sector rotation. We can see FMCG and pharma has been outperforming now, and I think this sector is going to outperform over coming few weeks or months as well. So Colgate one can create long positions here, maintaining a stop loss of 2850 and aiming for the target of 3,200 or possibly higher.
Okay, all right, got that. Thanks very much. We'll come back to you for some more trades and some more advice. But now let's look at what's been that big swift move towards FMCG and what that is all about and what's happening with valuations. We've got, of course, Mangalam joining in. Mangalam, I mean, it was so swift, this move, right? It just matter of hours and portfolios shifted. Tell us what you've made of it.
Yeah, it was so swift that the market moved from defense stocks to defensive stocks. Let's put it that way, you know, from Amrut Kal to Amrut Anjan is what the streets mood is right now. But, you know, to be very honest, the election results and the outcome, the focus moving towards staples just actually fueled this trigger, because the fundamentals of the FMCG space were already there for a bit of a lift-off, and this one just exacerbated that, because now brokerages are looking at staples as you know, the place to hide right now, also looking at the place where there is valuation comfort after them not having moved over the last 4 or 5 years, and also believing that maybe amidst this volatility and the new government that comes in, there would be a lot more focus on SOPs. So MK, for instance, has announced a switch from PSUs and capital goods to FMCG. Jeffries has said overweight private banks, consumer staples, auto OEMs. HDFC too includes consumer staples among the sectors where they find value. But before that as well, like I said, you know, managements were hopeful of recovery and they were seeing green shoots of that. We saw that in the fourth quarter results and the commentary coming in, where the management of HUL, Dabur, Britannia and Marico, all of them unequivocally said that rural India is growing faster than urban India, and they expect an up move out there to continue. And as a result of which, a sector which was parched for growth for the last 2 years or so was now seeing some growth, or there were expectations of at least double-digit growth coming by. Dabur said they target high single-digit volume growth with double-digit revenue growth. Britannia said they're gunning for top-line growth in FY25. Someone has recently, as Imami as well, you know, said that they would see double-digit revenue growth with 2 to 3% price growth coming in, implying single-digit, high single-digit volume growth. And Marico too is targeting double-digit revenue growth in FY25. And amidst growth, you know, the inflation is still contained, raw material prices are still contained, companies have increased their ad spends already, so there are more margin levers. So with revenue growth, margins will be maintained, that's a big positive. And we still have urban and all the other themes that were playing out before, which is premiumization, which is continuing. Premium parts of most FMCG companies' portfolios are growing faster than the average. Club all of this with the underperformance. I mean, the last 1 year, if you look at it, you know, the Nifty PSE, or the public sector enterprises, as an index has seen a growth of nearly 90%. We've seen the BSE cap goods index grow by around 63-65%. Compare that to the FMCG index, and this includes today's move and yesterday's move. That index is up just around 14%. That's a big underperformance. And even after a big move of 15% that we've seen in the last 2 days, HUL is still absolutely flat year on year. ITC is down 7% in the last 12 months. And we've seen Dabur, Nestle, Marico, all of them underperform the Nifty in the last 12 months. So good prospects, underperformance, and now further fueled by a move towards staples. So defensives from defense.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And the prospect of a good monsoon will also aid the sentiment on FMCG. But let's quickly cut across to Parikshit now, who's in conversation with Sachin Pilot. Parikshit.
Right, we're joined by former Union Minister, also General Secretary in charge of the Congress Party for the state of Chhattisgarh, somebody who's campaigned across 14 states in this election, held more than 100 meetings. Mr. Pilot, thank you very much for joining us. Let me begin by asking you about the state of Rajasthan first. Last time, you were down to low single digits in the Lok Sabha with very low single digit vote share as well. This time, the party has won 8 seats and a vote share of 37%. What helped you script a revival in the Lok Sabha election in Rajasthan?
Well, first of all, the big takeaway from this election is that it was a vote against the BJP government. Their numbers have fallen sharply, and no party has been given a mandate to form a government. What will happen in the future, I don't know, but it will be a coalition government, one. Second, the Congress party and the India Alliance parties have improved the tally significantly. And the BJP has come down by a huge number in Uttar Pradesh, in West Bengal, Rajasthan, Haryana. In Rajasthan, the Congress party and allies have won 11 seats. It's also a reflection of the failure of the double-engine government, both Jaipur and Delhi. And I think in Rajasthan, we were able to select better candidates. Our narrative was better. Our campaign was better. The issues we took up were, I think, much more appreciated. And to my mind, the people of Rajasthan also realized that the agrarian crisis, the issues of Agniveer, inflation, unemployment were important issues. And they voted with the party that supported those issues, which is the Congress party. And the BJP tried its best to polarize by talking about Hindus and Muslims and masjid and mandirs and Mangal Sutra. I think that also worked against the BJP. And the Congress, we tried to give younger candidates a chance to fight elections, which I think helped us. And we've improved significantly, like you said, from our last time's tally.
Right. I would like to ask you about Uttar Pradesh, because you also campaigned in the state and also across the Hindi heartland. What do you think worked in favor of the opposition alliance? The Congress doing better, the Samajwadi Party winning 37 seats. Do you think there was consolidation of Dalit and minority votes towards the opposition?
You see, it can't be just a combination of one or two communities. It has to be a rainbow coalition. And the fact that Samajwadi Party and the Congress Party have gotten huge numbers. In fact, Samajwadi Party is the largest party in Uttar Pradesh in Lok Sabha seats. It can't be because of one or two communities. It's actually the performance of the UP government and the government of India that people were wanting to punish. The election also, I think, is in a way, is a rejection of the kind of policies the BJP followed in both Lucknow and Delhi. The policy of acrimony, the policy of aggression, the policy of finishing off the opposition, in quietening the voices, in using the brute force of the government to quell the voice of the opposition. I think that people didn't appreciate. You bundle two chief ministers, elected chief ministers, into jail. You seize the bank accounts of the Congress party during elections. So this sort of overuse of your power and misuse of power, misuse of agencies is also something people wanted to give a reality check to the BJP, and they've done so. So once again, the clear message of yesterday's results. Now, coalition government, who will form, what will happen, we don't know. It's too early to say. But the simple takeaway of yesterday's results in both North India, South India, Bengal, UP has been that the BJP has been shown its place, and people have rejected the kind of governance that was provided for the last 5 years.
Right. Wherever we saw the Congress up against BJP directly, for example, also in Bihar, that was a four-cornered contest, but you were not in alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party. The Congress performed reasonably well in the state of Punjab. Do you think there should not have been an alliance with Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi in retrospect?
No. I think all of our alliance partners, for example, Trinamool Congress, we had an alliance but no seat sharing in Bengal because for various reasons. So sometimes there is always a give and take in a coalition that we create. One has to look at the larger picture. Fighting one seat, contesting two, not contesting four is not that important as the principle of opposition unity. The unity of the opposition party is also something that the people of India appreciated, and we came together for a cause. It wasn't about personal ambitions or trying to fight more seats than the other person. It was about saving the ethos and the spirit of our constitution, of not our constitutional bodies in this country that have been undermined. The credibility of those bodies must be maintained. So we came together for a purpose. People appreciated that act of us getting together. In hindsight, we have no regrets. I think the Aam Aadmi Party has its own place. They won a few seats. In Punjab, Congress has a very strong presence. In a multi-corner contest, the Congress Party became the largest party in Punjab. I think we won 7 seats out of 13. So it's a pretty good performance.
All right. I would also like to ask you about the national picture now. Rahul Gandhi yesterday said that they will reach out to both Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar. They will make every attempt at government formation. That is what Uddhav Bal Thackeray has also said. Today, the JDU the TDP, they are all going to be a part of the NDA alliance meeting. Do you think the opposition, the India grouping, has a chance at forming the government or no?
Too early to say. I think until the India alliance meets and we all discuss what are the options, what are the final numbers, what combinations will work, stability for the future, as well as what's best for the country. That decision will be taken after full consultation with all members of the India alliance. Like Mr. Kharge, Mr. Gandhi said yesterday, we fought the election as a coalition. So whatever decision we make will be a coalition decision. One single party really should not be making comments outside the meeting. But whatever the case may be, that time will tell what stand the coalition India alliance will take. But I'm just purely focusing on the message of yesterday's mandate. The claims of 300 par, 400 par, they have fallen flat. The kind of expectation and the goals that the BJP has set for itself, they have been clearly rejected by the people of India. Yes, they have done well in few states, not done in a few states, but the overall, I think the shortfall of numbers, the rejection of the kind of politics practiced by the BJP and the kind of mandate that the Congress India alliance have gotten is a clear political message for those in power that this is not your election, you have not been given a mandate to form a government. So take a step back, introspect and see what went wrong, and that's how it should be in the spirit of democratic processes and electoral spirit. We have to look and understand what the messaging of the voter is. That's far more important.
Right. But Mr. Pilot, looking at the political situation right now and the numbers as it stands, we just spoke to a former colleague of yours who left the Congress and joined the JDU, Mr. Ashok Chaudhary, and he said, considering our importance in the country and in the NDA alliance, we should be given due respect and a larger number of cabinet portfolios. Now, considering the sensitive political situation we're in, we're hearing that the BJP, the NDA, may go in for a swearing-in ceremony by the end of this week. Even if that happens, do you think the numbers would actually be tested on the floor of the House? Things will not be very crystal clear for a few weeks?
You're moving far too quickly. Parikshit, you're putting the cart before the horse. We are now moving to the realm of speculation. What will happen? We don't know. Let the meetings take place. Let us all arrive at a consensus and we'll take a final view on what is to be taken after the meetings. Before that, it's not correct for you or me to speculate. But whatever it may be, I think this election has certainly shown the wisdom and the maturity of our voters. And I bow in respect to the patience, the response of the electorate and the kind of maturity they have shown by participating in this election and giving a very clear message to the incumbents and giving a lot of support to our party, my party and India Alliance. Government formation, coalition, who's coming, who's going, that will all happen in the next few days. But as of today, we're just looking at the results that came out yesterday, and well, we're not fully satisfied with the election results, but it's a huge consolation for us that our hard work, our manifesto and our campaign has clicked and people have given us their blessings.
All right, well, that is Sachin Pilot in conversation with my colleague Parikshit Luthra. Again, it goes back to that meeting, that India Alliance meeting, which is happening later today, after which, leader after leader basically said from that alliance that they'll decide what to do next. So that is what's coming through on the political front. Markets, of course, are surging. We've got 750 points now on the index. Prakash Dewan is with us and so is Rohit Srivastava of India Charts. Gentlemen, good afternoon. Good to have both of you here. Rohit, if I can start by sort of coming to you first. So, big damage yesterday, big recovery today. And we were just chatting Friday to now. Actually, we're now up about 40 points. Friday to the current market price. So it's decent. Actually, it's Monday and yesterday, you can almost, I don't know if you can kind of describe it as a head fake, but that basically is what it's turned out to be. What's your sense? What's the trajectory from here likely? And just your thoughts. Go on.
I wouldn't call it a head fake. All these moves are happening on some extreme sentimental behavior that has got created. A lot of it got created by the entire flow that, you're going to get a win in one direction. So markets were rallying for several months. And then somewhere doubts emerged and you had a huge short positioning that developed ahead of the election results. which caused many spikes on the upside, as in when you got positive news, and then when the news is not so positive, I'll not say it's negative because it's not, you got a downward spike, right? So this volatility is just being created by positioning. Even the sell-off yesterday also got triggered because a lot of people on Monday ended up, especially the short-term traders, those who are on margin, ended up buying a lot, expecting that this was a runaway move, and then it resulted in a lot of margin calls. So that is the nutshell what has happened. But you put it in perspective, the overall trend of the market has not been damaged by whatever has happened in 2 days. Like you said, if we go to a weekly chart and all this up and down moves are just highs and lows, eventually you end up closing in the same range which you were for so many weeks. So then it tells you that, okay, you went nowhere. You still need a breakout of this, to move ahead. So we'll continue to look for that. In the short term, though, the VIX is very, very high. So I sense that somewhere markets do need to consolidate some more. I don't think they can just run away one way. I think large part of today's bounce is that short covering again because there was extreme selling yesterday. And so again, you have, buying causing a bounce. Is it a complete reversal? No, but the lows might be made. So I would expect first some consolidation here. For example, you retraced almost 66% of the 2-day fall from the high to low, which is at around 22,645. So somewhere in this range, sense you can get some selling again, to close out some of those losses that have still happened in the PSU space. If not, also you need the VIX to really come down because you usually don't get sustained rallies, at a 30, 20 kind of VIX, the kind of levels we are at. I think VIX will eventually come and settle back at around 15. So I would give markets a few days to consolidate, but eventually head higher. That is how I'm thinking about it. That means the trend is up. It's just that the volatility needs to cool down. You don't really get, you can't keep going on 500 points every day, which is not the normal behavior of the market. So that is something people should not anticipate, especially short-term traders should not anticipate that tomorrow will be another 500, 700 point day. That is not going to happen. But you will eventually head higher. So it is a buy the dip market still. And you'll have to make sectoral shifts in terms of where you want to be so that you avoid being in the wrong places.
Rohit, hi, afternoon. I think you partially answered that question because it's you pull up the 1-year chart of the Nifty and that tells you all the up and down and the buying and the selling, and then yes, we've had this major move in mid caps, etc. At the aggregate index level, index is up 4-5%. I mean, not even 5. I think 4% for the year. The bulk of this 21% move that happened actually last year, calendar year. We've not done much. So considering, if I could call it, continuing slightly upward consolidation from here onwards, now I'm asking you actually for a 6-month view, not an immediate view. I mean, let's say by the end of this year, are you expecting the possibility of, that up move, a bigger up move continuing? Or do you think this is going to be more of a ranging market where you're better off putting money in individual stocks to work rather than expecting index level pop? What would you say over here?
So I don't know whether I should give you a level or I should give you the thesis first.
Both.
So I'll start with the thesis. Okay, the thesis is this election is over. We have a party that is going to form the government, and that means you're getting continuity and stability both. It doesn't matter that it is a coalition or not. That doesn't really change the growth perspective, and that we've seen in the 2004 episode. So that doesn't need to be relived. So such panic scenarios end up therefore being opportunities to buy at certain levels. It also relieves some of the overbought status of some of the individual stocks and sectors. Now, how does it move forward from here? So one thing is, okay, you got stable government, that's out of the way. Earnings growth was already there. There is some slowing in earnings growth. I think the key trigger there is going to be interest rates. I think interest rates in India are going to come down a lot, not just a bit. The bond yield, which was already below 7%, till day before, did spike up yesterday. I think once it gets back on track in line with what global bond markets are already indicating, you will see bond yields in India go probably even sub 6% again. So I think interest rates are going to get cut at some point of time, hopefully sooner than later, because the government has become fiscally prudent in the last year, as you saw in the last budget. So basically, broadly, I'm saying interest rates get cut, interest rate sensitives pick up. That creates the funding environment required for your capex cycle, infra cycle, which a lot of fund managers have been talking about. So that whole scenario gets created once you get rates down and you have a stable government. So what are we really looking at then? Then we are looking at a market that can move up much higher, equally to the type of rallies we've seen last year. And that can set us up for 26,000 Nifty by the year end. So that is what I'm thinking. If the rate cycle kicks in, the government already there, heading to 26,000 by year end should not be difficult.
Okay, so 26,000 by year end. I guess, guys, that's what I was trying to understand. That contrary to all the gloom and doom that was playing out yesterday, could we actually be in for a much stronger second half than what we've seen so far this calendar year?
Okay, and 26,000 is about a 15% upside from the current levels. So that's fairly significant. We've already done 5%. Throw in another 15%.
But what within, Rohit? So, what will take it up? Interest rate sensitives, financials, banks?
Yeah, those in the front, because you've seen only PSU banks participate. You haven't seen big moves in the private banks, the NBFCs, all that entire space. So I think all of that starts doing well. And then when we say interest rate sensitives, then we're talking autos, which are doing very well today. Realty kicks in. And then you got the infrastructure and, capital goods has already been a performer, but infra stocks will also come to the forefront. So you have an entire gamut, I think, of space. And what you're also seeing recently, at least in the last month, is this rotation back into some of the, earlier growth areas. One of them, of course, being FMCG, which is in limelight. But FMCG started to outperform only, I think, early part of this month, well before the election result. The only thing the focus till the elections has been too much on PSU, which is why it probably got ignored. But on a 1 month basis, FMCG has been an outperforming, segment. And I will not be surprised that even IT makes a comeback, because globally the tech sector is, being started to do well. And the domestic IT sector is still under quite some pressure for quite a while. So you get that also. So apart from, areas where probably stocks have gone up too much, where you have valuations without growth, those are the ones that will really get pulled down, I think, in this rotation. But you are going back from, last year's entire rally, you can say, was a value rally, right? Growth to value, which is why PSUs came to forefront, dividend yield stocks, and so on. Now you'll go shift back to the growth areas, right? So wherever there's going to be growth, that's going to get re-rated again. Let's put it that way.
Okay, Rohit, it's great conversation as always. Punchy, thank you very much. 26,000 by the end of the year. That's over a 15% move up that Rohit is expecting, led by largely interest rates, financials, real estate. Metals is a space that Rohit likes very much as well. Thank you for joining us. We'll take a quick commercial break here. Prakash Diwan will be with us. We'll also have Jigar Mistry of Buoyant Capital join us on the other side. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Judge the health of the market with the kind of gains that we're seeing in the Adani Group stocks now. Adani Ports is up nearly 10%. Look at that stock go. Adani Green is up more than 10%, 11% gain on that. Ambuja Cement, ACC are moving up with a 7.5% up move. In the last few minutes, these stocks are just piling on gains as the Nifty has crossed 22,600 and the Sensex has added more than 2,300 points. Prakash Diwan and Jigar Misri, Jigar Misri is the founder at Boyne Capital, and both of them are with us on the show now. Gentlemen, afternoon, and thank you for joining in. Prakash, I think the question which a lot of people have is that clearly, the wave is now towards the FMCG stocks. So which FMCG, the staple stock, should one buy and why? Which one would you recommend?
Good afternoon, Rima. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like a very logical shift. Couple of things that have led to this sudden love being found for FMCG stocks. One is the valuations were fairly comforting in the last 1 year, and HUL, for instance, hasn't really done anything more than what it's done in the last 1 week, right? And that goes for some of the other names as well. And, the last quarter earnings did give that very clear indication, different nuances to the uptick that they started seeing in rural demand. And if a monsoon is something which you are pricing in, a regular monsoon is what you're pricing in. The big change, I think, after the numbers of the election outcome, if you ask me, is the fact that the government will have to also be focused, the new government, whichever format it gets formed, is going to be focused on the consumption and rural development and not just infrastructure growth and all of that. So consumption will make a comeback in priority in terms of the policy making. And from that perspective, things do look quite sound. I've mentioned Dabur a couple of times. I would also add ITC to it, given the fact that both of them straddle a fairly decent area of consumption, which is a good combination of rural and urban. So these two probably stand out as viable names. But we've been talking about FMCG for quite some time, given the value opportunity there. And probably the timing now seems to be much more favorable of sorts.
Okay, all right. Prakash, thanks a lot for joining in fact, giving us your quick take on that. Well, we have Jigar Mistry as well, co-founder at Boyne Capital, who joins us on the show. Well, Jigar, good to see you. And Jigar, before I ask you your comment on the market, I just want to put out a piece for our viewers. And I could call it fundalytics. That's funda and politics, you put it together. And a few stocks are reacting to some news flow. So we'll tell you the political development and then we'll tell you the fundamental reason as well the stocks are up. Let's address three of them. KCP, that stock is higher in today's trading session. The big news is Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, he's set to become the CM for the 4th time. The reason that the markets are excited is because the TDP, in their last tenure, they were talking about the development of Amravati. And when they went out of power, Mr. Reddy, Jagannath Reddy that came in, well, he changed things. And the focus on Amravati just got pulled back. And now, in fact, there are 3 capitals out there. So they're hoping, the stock market's hoping that the focus on Amravati's revival plan comes about yet again, which will be very, very good. Let's run you through KCP's business model. More than 95% of their money comes in from cement as well as sugar put it together. And they have smaller segments like heavy engineering as well as hotel. 3 big points I wanted to highlight. One is on their cement business, they have a capacity of around 4.3 million tons approximately. They have limestone reserves as well, and they're talking about expansion out there. If you look at a valuation at $50 per ton, that capacity of around 4.3 million tons odd, it comes to around 1,800 crores. At $60, it comes to around 2,150 crores odd. So that's the enterprise value just for the cement business. And the entire company as of now is actually valued at around 1,800 crores, 2,300 crores of market cap. They have cash of around 500 crores approximately. So there is some valuation support. And in addition to the cement business, they also have the sugar, they have the Vietnamese sugar business, which throws up revenues of more than 1,000 crores and a bit of close to 240 crores. Next to JSPL, the promoter entity, Mr. Naveen Jindal, he joined the BJP a couple of months ago, and he's won Kurukshetra. So that's why, in fact, on the street is quite happy with the political department. But what about fundamentally as well? The crude capacity is set to go up by close to around 65%. They have lined up a big capex of close to around 30,000 crores odd, and they're saying that they'll keep the debt in check. So the market likes that. And they're also focusing on pushing margins higher by value-added products, the slurry pipe they've spoken about, as well as the captive coal mines. So it explains why JSPL actually is booming away. It's up close to around 5% as we speak. And the third stock we're looking at is Impa. That stock is up more than 10%. Mr. Jay Panda of the BJP, he won a seat in Odisha. So that's come back to him. And in fact, Mr. Subrakant Panda is the promoter of IMFA. They are brothers. The brother who won the political seat has no relation with regard to no involvement in the business. But since he's a brother, that's why in fact some kind of political rub-off is there. But fundamentally as well, things are looking up for IMFA. And three big reasons. They're expanding their capacity by close to around 40%. The grow more prices are firm. And the third factor is they're awaiting close to 220 crores of compensation for their coal blocks. So put this together, just thought we'll highlight the fundamental and the political reasons that these stocks are flying away in today's trading session. Jigar, a few of these stocks, well, you would have tracked them in the past many years because, at one point of time, your core beat was cement as well as metals. Any view on any three of them?
No, Nigel, sorry. None of them are in sort of the coverage radar or ownership for us as we speak.
But you would like to comment on, either the metal space, you have tracked that closely. Do you think they've run ahead of themselves? The street believes that maybe they are in for a re-rating because India has a bigger role to play, particularly on the ferrous side. Your take?
Right, Nigel. So as we sort of used to discuss back in the day, prices per se, other than longs, don't really are not really driven by what happens in India as much as what happens in China, the entire EXIM trade. So essentially, as a sort of theme, it does make sense because eventually you are going to de-dollarize at whatever faster or a slower pace. And therefore, all mechanisms for that, be it sort of crypto, gold, commodities, real estate, they all relative to the fiat will improve. And therefore, some ownership of, commodities is important. We have a small ownership for some metals companies in the fund. But other than that, I think it is reasonably stock specific and sort of ferrous or non-ferrous is a relative take on that.
Jigar, afternoon and thank you very much for joining in. One of the big movers is Vodafone Idea today, almost at their 15 rupee mark. The telecom auctions, which were supposed to begin tomorrow, have now been pushed forward to the 25th of June now. So about a 2-week delay in the telecom auctions. But, is there a tactical play at least on Vodafone Idea? Anything that you would recommend at current levels?
Is that for me, Nima?
Yes, Jigar, go ahead.
Right. So I think as a theme, we are very excited about this because if you look at sort of the average ARPU in India, our ambition is to reach an ARPU level which is at the lower end of Africa. Right. Most companies on the conference call suggest that they want to reach a 300 rupee ARPU, which say $3.50 is at the lower end of where, say, Africa is at between $3 and $7. China is between 7 and 11, Europe is 10 plus, US is 30 plus, right? So obviously that stands to reason because essentially you are likely to see a scenario where the entire data ecosystem depends on the cheap data rate. And therefore we'll never run away with the kind of price hikes, but some hike, given that it's only a 3-player market, is now evident. So as a theme, Vodafone or Indus or Bharti makes, at least to us, a lot of sense. We have a reasonably large allocation to this theme in the fund.
Okay, that's so the telecom names, which are on the green side of the screen, as I said, the bulk of the market really, 760 points up. Prakash, so what did you do in the roller coaster? What did you buy on Monday or maybe, I don't know, yesterday? What did you buy yesterday?
No, so Sarvi, I think the market's given a wonderful opportunity, or more than anything, as a reality check on how stretched valuation in some of the favored, sectors was, whether it was defense, whether it was railways, and the opportunity to buy, I would believe, will continue to be even better and stronger now that the PE contraction has happened. So we've gone ahead and added to the usual names: Gas Authority of India, Canara Bank on the PSU bank side. A name like Dredging Corporation of India. I mean, I don't see any reason why some of these names will change their business trajectories and growth opportunities that exist. So, like Dredging Corporation had numbers just before the exit polls, and there was a one-off this time, which probably led to a little bit of a mismatch in the P&L. And that's something whereas they've committed to 1,800 crores plus kind of revenue for this current year. And they could start getting back into a very different position. So you have opportunities. I'll tell you interestingly, if somebody were traveling or out of range or off the grid, as they call it, for the last 2 days and come back, the market looks like very normal, except that the valuations have become more reasonable, right? I mean, the index is exactly where you left it on Friday. When you come back today, and there's if you didn't know what happened in these 2 days, you would continue life as usual, and of course at better valuations most of the inflated names.
Well, I take your point, Prakash, and I think the only guesswork that's going on right now is whether one should expect that Modi 3.0 will come back and not have such a thrust on defense or on shipyards, or will they take their foot off the pedal on Atmanirbhar? I mean, a little hard to say that sitting here right now, but maybe it's a little unlikely to expect a complete shift in focus. So just let me ask you a follow-up. In that case, you said dredging, Canara Bank. Anything else in PSUs where you still find value, or where you'll add more, as we look at lower valuations?
Gas Authority of India is the other one that I mentioned. We also love the way the OMCs are set up at this point in time. Most of them. Sorry.
Go on. Finish that point, Prakash.
Yeah, so, the other pocket that I spoke about when we briefly chatted on Sunday was, some of these OMCs, given the global setup on crude and the valuation comfort that you have, are available at mid-single digit P multiples. And there's so much of optionality that's attached to it in terms of either hydrogen or mobility and stuff like that. So, I don't think any new government in any context is going to be able to derail some of these things that have been unleashed. So you're right, defense will continue, railways will continue, but it's a question of the focus will now shift to valuation rather than just a narrative. So from that perspective, anything that's not overpriced happens to be a PSU, doesn't matter, but it sits in that space like Gas Authority of India, as I mentioned. I don't see any reason why it doesn't continue to grow from here on the way it was expected before, let's say, 1st of June. So those are stories that you should stick to. Be a bit disciplined, don't get carried away. That's the whole idea.
Just a quick last one, if I can slip in a question. Jigar, did you tell us? Have you already told us the top 3 buys?
Right, Prashant. So I think, I'm having a slightly difficult time believing this whole FMCG story the way it's playing out. Right? Yeah. Basically, at the core, people don't change. Like, remember, go back to the Vajpayee era. The FRBM Act was sort of, as a bill, it was promulgated during Vajpayee era. It became an act when it was Vajpayee era. Very painstakingly, they have, put India on the right glide path of your fiscal consolidation. Now, just because, they didn't get a full majority.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I'm sorry, I'm pushing you because they're pushing me because we have to take a break. Let me ask you this. So, I agree with you. In the morning, I was saying FMCG financials. And what exactly?
Yes.
I remember you like... Okay, large financials, not microfinance companies. Credit access is up 10-11%. You got a PNB housing, which is up 7-8%. Or is it just stick with the top banks?
Large banks and housing finance companies, Prashant.
Large banks and housing finance companies. And you want to name names? Top
LIC Housing, Aavas, sort of all of those. I think in this budget, we sort of do a deep dive into the housing financials and improvements thereon.
All right, fair enough. Gentlemen, we'll have you guys back. Prakash, apologies, shorter chat today. Jigar, shorter chat, but just out of time. Thank you very much for joining in with your perspective. Really appreciate it here on CNBC. We're up about, 723 points, which means the Nifty is at about 22,600 plus. Time for a quick break. Time for our segment, D Street Chatter. Nimesh is joining us now with what he's picking up in terms of what's happening in dealing groups. Nimesh, over to you.
Hi, Prashant. So the roller coaster continues. Extremely, we've pulled back very sharply, but from an extremely oversold level. So a lot of leverage was out of the system yesterday. A lot of margin calls got triggered. A lot of brokers sold out retail and HNI positions as well. So the market started on a lighter note, and despite selling from the larger institutions, there has been a pullback across the board. The institutional number may look very different today, but the way to read would be, even if it's a buy number, there is a lot of churn within the portfolio as well. So what I understand, there has been an aggressive selling in the PSU names, the defense names from the domestic mutual funds, and they're shifting the money to the defensives like what we saw in the consumer names. So all the consumer stocks are doing good today. A bit of buying is shifted back to the private bank stocks and some housing finance companies as well. So that's been the key trade. You know, the big shift from the larger FIs and domestic mutual funds away from PSUs to this kind of name. So that's something to track going forward. I guess again, all eyes will be on the swearing in the new cabinet as well. And of course, the big talking point now is what happens as far as the budget is concerned. I spoke to some larger HNIs who were part of a meeting yesterday, and the overall feedback seems to be there is going to be some uncertainty. So there is no rush for them to go and buy. But I guess today's pullback is largely on back of extremely oversold levels. So that's the kind of reading that I've picked up, that they're buying, the DIs are buying, but they're buying, shifting from the PSUs and defense names to the consumer names.
All right, Nimesh, what about individual stocks? What are you picking up?
So, Nigel, as I said, there is selling in the defense names. So, the first couple of stocks are BEL and Concor. Well, the stocks have sharply recovered from the day's low. But from a flow perspective, I understand there are very strong sell flows from the domestic mutual fund. So, the data, I mean, especially the delivery stats, could be quite interesting there. The second name is HUL. We've been talking about the entire consumer names, but Lever stands out largely on back of strong buying. So, after a 5% move yesterday, another 4-5% move, and that's backed by FI buying. And coincidentally, there was a Jeffries upgrade as well today. That has also helped the sentiment as far as Lever is concerned. The third name is Aditya Birla AMC. It's kind of a forgotten stock, not many track as well. But I understand, the HNI interest seems to be back. Some larger HNIs have started buying in the last couple of days, and that's the reason why in last 2 days the stock is up almost 20%. And the last is Castrol. Again, not a big mover in today's market, but I understand there is small buying at a leading FI desk in Castrol, and that's the reason why even that is buzzing 4% in today's market.
Nimesh, thank you very much for that interesting list as always. Need to get into a very short break. We'll come back with more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. So the recovery in the market continues. Before we get to the next set of stocks, let's get you some snippets coming in from a very interesting conversation that our colleague Danish had with the management at SpiceJet. Hope that ATF will finally be taken under GST. That is what SpiceJet MD Ajay Singh told Danish. Just a while back, they were discussing, the expectations from the new government and, of course, what lies ahead for the aviation sector. Listen in.
I think this new government will focus on economic growth, and a large component of economic growth is aviation growth. So I'm very confident that they will work to ensure that the aviation sector grows rapidly, that the regulatory issues that the sector has faced for so many years, those are addressed as quickly as possible, and that India becomes a leading aviation power in the world.
Right. So as far as the taxation on the aviation sector is concerned, what are your views on that? What's the government really do so that the entire environment for domestic airlines is much positive?
I think it's a very unfair situation that the aviation sector faces, that your largest input has a very high incidence of tax, and that there is no input tax credit for that input. So this is something which is unique in the world, needs to be addressed, and I do hope that aviation turbine fuel will finally be taken under the ambit of GST. And if that can happen, this is a structural reform which has been needed for a very long time, and hopefully the new government will address this. To be fair, they have already started discussing this with us, and I do hope that it can be addressed soon.
Right. So as far as the fleet is concerned, what is the current update regarding talks with Boeing, and when can we expect SpiceJet to again have over?
We continue to talk with the OEMs to restore the delivery of aircraft from our fleet of, our order of 200 aircraft. So hopefully that can happen soon. In the meanwhile, we are working hard to uplift the aircraft that are on the ground and trying to take short-term capacity through wet lease and longer-term capacity through dry lease. So the objective is for SpiceJet to get to 100 aircraft as soon as possible.
Okay, well, that's Ajay Singh. SpiceJet markets up 700 points. We have to take a very quick commercial break, but we'll be back exactly in 60 seconds. Stay with us.
Welcome back. So very quickly, to bring you up to speed on some changes that CLSA has made in its view on a couple of defense stocks. Just specifics here. They have downgraded BEL to an outperform from a buy. It's not like a sell or anything. From a buy, it's now come down to an outperform. Target is 294. On HAL, they're retaining their outperform rating. The target there is 4731, which is better than where the stock is, even after this whole fall. And they're saying expensive valuations leave little space for execution error. That's the important point. Expect the government to walk the talk for Make in India. So they're still retaining the faith. It's more of a nuanced valuation issue now on many of these stocks. Ashish Kayal with us for final thoughts. Ashish, in case you track any of these defense stocks, maybe a take on HAL. Technically, if any of them still can be bought, and otherwise final trades.
Yes, if you look at HAL, we can clearly see the stock has not gained much post the yesterday's session. Rather, it's looking weak when we can see a lot of buying up, nearly 6-7% in most of the stocks. But HAL has not gained much. It has recovered from the day's low, but it is still trading in negative compared to or minor positive, I would say. And I think only a break above 4,500 will be positive. On downside, 4,000 is an important support for this stock. And the pick for me is going to be TVS Motors. We can clearly see very strong up move in this stock in today's session. It's touching that nearly 52 weeks high, and we can see the up move is along with good volumes. So any dip over here in TVS Motors around 2,320 can be a good buying opportunity. We can expect a target of 2,500 on the upside, and on the downside one can maintain a stop loss of around 2270. And the next share is going to be next stock is Lupin. We can clearly see very strong recovery in the pharma space, and Lupin looks promising. Good reversal from the bottom, and one can expect a target of 1740 on upside in Lupin. Maintain a stop loss of 1570.
Ashish, we'll leave it there. Good to get that quick view and some specific trades as well. Thank you for joining us. I think we're coming to the close. It's a 3% day once again. So 3% on Monday, 6% yesterday, 3% today. So, that's basically the week so far. And lots of stocks coming back up very nicely. I mean, the biggest volume-led gainer today is Idea by far. It's up 12-13%, but look at the volumes. I mean, huge. Although, the high on Monday was 16 rupees and 40 paise. That was the exit poll high. Stocks back at 15 rupees after falling to 12 rupees yesterday. Adani Green is up 11%. Adani Green, of course, the high was 2174. Stocks at about 1800, little over that. Heritage Foods continues to power higher from 420 to 550 in 2 days now. ABFRL is basically back to almost a new sort of cycle high. There is Nalco, there is Imami, there is JSW Energy. JSW Energy, the high was 660. It's about 10% below that level at about 610 today. Prestige Estates had a big 12% move. It's almost back to those levels. KNR Construction had a big day. Jyoti Laboratories, Vector Foods, Chambal Fertilizer, BKG, Credit Access coming out of the slump with an 11% pop. So lots of stuff happening. And, I barely scratched the surface of big volume-led gainers like yesterday, like the day before. It's a really big volume day once again today, guys.
Well, so the best performing sectoral index, surprisingly, is not FMCG. FMCG ends with a gain of 4.3%, but it closed 2% off the session high. So in the second half of the trading session, some profits were being booked. The best performing sector today was the metal index with a 5.5% rally, and private banks participated, while the Nifty banking index also outperformed with a 4% gain. The private banking index was up close to about 5%, with IndusInd Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank, ICICI Bank, and HDFC Bank participating on the way up. Just two losers, and that too, you could call them flat, right? But L&T and BPCL had their final tick in the red.
And L&T recovered a 5% opening cut, and it's ending flat. So there was quite some recovery there as well. On the mid-cap screen, things looking good. 4% up on the mid-cap index. A lot of recovery in the Adani Group stocks, of course. So Adani Green was up about 11%. A lot of the other names, Adani Power also managed to close along the flat line. Look at some other movers and shakers. Gainers included a Vodafone Idea, 13%, Prestige Estates, 13%. Of course, Imami was one of the big movers in the FMCG basket, so 10-11% up over there. Jyoti Laboratories, 13%. Even the non-FMCG consumer names like a BKG, like a Hunasa, Vectors, all of these stocks, basically anything consumption related, was up and about today. So very strong moves coming in. AB Fashion and Retail, 15% higher. Amara Raja, 12% higher. So all in all, a pretty good day for the mid-cap market. Just a word on the PSUs. Some of the metal names have actually done better. Nalco, 11%, Hindustan Copper, SAIL. These were stocks that were on the upside. Some of the others like NBCC, still nursing losses. Well, with that, it's curtains on this edition of Closing Bell. Another day of a lot of volatility comes to an end, but an end which is about 700 points up on the Nifty. Thank you for being with us. Markets Forward will take the action ahead.